What's good, everybody? So this is gonna be a quick video on why doers outperform thinkers, right? Because you gotta look at it like doers are actually doing the damn thing. They're gaining experiences from just doing the thing, right? And that experience gives them feedback on what they need to improve upon and do next. But a motherfucker that's a thinker is just another word for being a bum and just being lazy. Because a thinker is just sitting there constantly thinking, constantly worrying, constantly being cautious, constantly recalculating, constantly recalibrating without actually doing anything, right? Like a thinker is basically like a motherfucker whose mind is like in an air balloon. They're just thinking about shit, but they're not actually practicalizing what they're thinking. Meaning that, because look, the thinking is just for calculation. When you're thinking, when you're analyzing, you're just using your mind to calculate something. Don't get lost in that calculation, in that overly thinking tendency of the left brain and shit like that, right? Because what happens is you'll find yourself just sitting there thinking about a bunch of shit, but you've never done anything. Nothing was actually done to go further down the process, right? To go further down the line and shit like that. Because like a motherfucker, look, I'm not demonizing the faculty of the left brain when it comes to thinking, analyzing, and coming up with forms of logic and stuff like that. I'm not demonizing that, but what I am saying is if a person get lost in that too much to the point that like they're not doing anything, they're not doing the damn thing, they're not taking action, then it's like all that overthinking is not going to lead into anything of a practical nature that is worthwhile exploring. Because look, the left brain is just basically, I don't want to get too deep into it in astrology shit like that, but the left brain is just logic, analyzing, internal communication that can become external forms of communication and shit like that, right? Like a motherfucker that's thinking all the time, a motherfucker that's overly analyzing shit all the time, you might see this motherfucker even just talking to themselves down the street because they constantly thinking, they constantly analyzing, they constantly having this internal communication that can become an external communication, but that's really just a symptom of them not being able to diagnose that whatever they're thinking about, whatever they're pondering, wandering on, they're talking to themselves about it so much is because they're not actually doing the damn thing, right? And so it's like you really got to separate and draw this clear line between doing and thinking, where it's like, okay, think, analyze, just left brain, calculate shit. And you're not supposed to be doing all that before you even jump into the experience, right? Because we start to build up all these like calculations and all these schematics and all these plans and all these things, right? But never actually doing these damn things. So like that overly thinking tendency itself is a shape or form or way of just really just coping with not doing the thing. So it's like there's a mental imbalance going on where a person is not practicalizing, densifying what they were calculating on their mind. Instead, a person is just spending so much time into that thoughts, into logics, into, analyzations and shit like that about, just shit that may have not went their way and shit. Like a lot of the times, like when we're children and shit, we have these motivations that didn't go our way, maybe because of our environment didn't necessarily allow us to do certain things and shit like that. So we might carry with us these roots, these things inside of us internally, like these roots within that we haven't investigated yet. So we might be like doing something to cope and shit like that, right? But at the end of the day, the whole point being is like doers will always outperform thinkers, because by the time a thinker thought it, a doer already did it. And by the time a doer already did it, they're already refining it, meaning like things are not staying within the axes of the left. Things are just not staying within the realm of thought. These things are just being done. These things are being practicalized and shit like that. And if you think about it, unless you practically do something, that's the only way to actually make your sword even sharper and shit like that. To make your thought, to make your speech, whatever it is, to make that shit sharper, you gotta actually like do that shit and shit, right? But if a person is not doing the damn thing, they're just a thinker. Again, like a thinker to me It's just another word, another way of saying, like, there's nothing wrong with being a great thinker, blah, blah, blah. I'm not speaking down on that, but I'm just saying, like, a thinker is just really another word of just being a fucking bum, basically. Just being lazy, not doing the damn thing. Because at some point, you're going to have to do the damn thing. Like, it's like a motherfucker that sit there and talk about, yeah, I'm going to go to the gym. They just thought about it, but they never actually do it. Like, it might even get so deep where a motherfucker might just deal with the logical aspect of signing up for a gym membership, because that's the logic, that's calculation. Okay, I gotta put myself within the system, blah blah, to go to the gym, blah blah, get those procedures done, last name, first name, credit card, blah blah. But when it comes to the time to actually do the damn thing, a motherfucker might not even go to the gym. They might just be like, man, fuck it, I'm not gonna do it because I'd rather just think about being healthy and shit. And that's, that's crazy, right? That's crazy. But that's like really a mental imbalance and shit like that a person may develop on their mind just based upon like whatever a person is spending so much time and energy in is like a motive that they want to have, but maybe because of an internal insecurity, internal perception that creates a perception of an inability, they start to spend so much time into forms of logic, forms of internal communications and analyzing, but that analyzation and that logic about whatever, it's just about whatever failed motive, whatever motivation didn't necessarily go their way, or whatever didn't necessarily go their way in this life and shit like that. So now they're spending so much time calculating and analyzing and coming up with logics for shit to go their way, rather than just actually, because it's really not even like the left brain is really the root chakra at the end of the day, right? That's the root. That's the root that you want to deal with and shit like that, right? Because whatever you're thinking about is probably motivated by something that you may not necessarily had, quote unquote, go your way. But at the end of the day, it's like you gotta live a new day and be willing to experience and experiment and you all over again. Because today might be your day, Yesterday, a person may have not made a sale. Today, they might make a sale, It's like that and shit, right? But, yeah, doers will always outperform thinkers at the end of the day, right? Real shit.